Joining us in the broadcast booth, the press box here at Max Andrus Field at Columbus North High School is Indiana Secretary of State Todd Rokita. Welcome.
Hey, thank you, Scott. It's great to be here. I haven't been able to watch a high school game for a very long time. This is absolutely wonderful.
Well, you're down here trying to get people signed up so they can participate in the November election.
Absolutely. You know, this election obviously has a lot of interest for a lot of different people. It shouldn't be that way, honestly. We should habitualize the habit, make sure we vote every election. I'm trying to get to these young people to make sure we start some good habits. As soon as you're 18 and a U.S. citizen, you ought to be voting, and that's the message tonight.
Secretary of State Todd Rokita here with us, and you mentioned these young people, a lot of them turning 18. If you can get them to vote now, my guess is they're going to keep doing it.
Well, that's right. You know, and I was also here on the field right before the game started, and we'll get to that after the play, honoring some long-time serving poll workers as well, and that's important.
And that's Indiana Secretary of State Todd Rokita you see right there, here to honor Election Day poll workers for their continued service to Bartholomew County. And there, Mr. Thomas Andrews is receiving an award. He's been part of the election process since 1952 and is one of Bartholomew County's longest-serving poll workers. That's Mr. Thomas Andrews right there. Todd Rokita, the Indiana Secretary of State, you heard him here joining us during the second quarter of play. Here trying to get people to register to vote. That is Miss Misty Bilthouse. She participated in the Election Day Live program here in Bartholomew County, getting 16 and 17-year-old poll workers to come out during the 2008 primary election. The program enabling young people the opportunity to participate in the election process before they are old enough to vote. Secretary of State Todd Rokita reminding everyone to make sure they are registered to vote before the October 6th voter registration deadline. Contact your county clerk's office or local political party if you are interested in working as a poll worker on Tuesday, November the 4th for the general election. So Secretary of State Todd Rokita presenting 5 awards here at Max Andrus Field.
We've got a very special presentation going on here tonight in Columbus. We're joined by the Secretary of State of the State of Indiana, Mr. Todd Rokita. First of all, great to have you out here. We're glad to see you. Tell us a little bit about what's going on in the program you're running right now.
Well, let me just say it's great to be out here. This must be one of the biggest football games I've ever seen across the whole state, and I intend to tell the rest of the state about Columbus East and Columbus North rivalry. But it is great to be out here. It's great to be with these friends, too. This is a bipartisan group we have out here tonight. These are some of the longest-serving poll workers we've had and some of the youngest poll workers that we've had. Now, there's 30,000 poll workers that are required every election to put it on across the state of Indiana and 5,500 precincts. And here in Bartholomew County, these are some of the best. Young and old, new, certainly not old, young and experienced. And I'm here to give them an honorary Secretary of State tonight.
That's great. Let's talk to a couple of them. Standing over here to our right, Mr. Thomas Andrews. You've been working the polls here in Bartholomew County since 1952, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
What got you started working on Election Day, and what has kept you working on Election Day?
Well, I've always been interested in politics, and so that was just a step to get started in it, you know.
And it's been quite a long while. Congratulations. Thanks for your service.
Yeah, I even worked last year, and I don't know. I worked in the spring in the primary, but I about decided to hang it up pretty soon. It's awful long days, I can tell you.
Well, we're certainly proud and honored of your service.
It'd be better if younger people did it, you know.
Well, I think we've got a few involved here as well, and we're going to talk to a couple of them, including Corey Allman. Corey, you're in college right now. You go to IU, is that right?
Yep, that's correct.
Tell us a little bit about your involvement in the election process.
Well, I saw the ad in the paper, and I knew that it'd be interesting with the hype of this year's election, and I thought it'd be fun to do, so I gave it a try, and it was nice doing it.
And also we've got Misty here, Misty Bilthouse. You had an interesting involvement in the election this past year. Tell us a little bit about what you've done.
Well, I am the youngest one working at the polls this year, and my grandma is a very political woman. She's the one who got me involved, and I've been in it I volunteered for about 5 years, and this is my first year actually working at the polls.
You find this pretty important, something you're trying to encourage other young people to be involved with?
Yes, I am.
Finally, let's talk to Karen Aud here. She is the Chief Deputy Clerk here in Bartholomew County. It looks like you've got a great group of people here helping you out run the polls.
Yes, it's a very exciting year to be a part of the election process. It's just been very interesting and nonstop.
We've got a bunch of great poll workers here in Bartholomew County. Once again, Secretary Rokita, thank you very much for your time, and congratulations to all of our guests here for their service.
Well, the great thing about being an honorary Secretary of State is that you get all the glory and none of the work.
Well, fans, as part of this evening's halftime festivities here at Roncalli, the Indiana Secretary of State is here to honor 5 Roncalli students for their past work on Election Day. Ms. Stephanie Wicks, Mr. Ryan Huey, and Mr. Connor Mullen worked as poll workers for Election Day Live, Indiana's 16 and 17-year-old poll worker program. The program gives young people the opportunity to participate in the election process even before they're old enough to vote. Also being honored, Ms. Caitlin Dawson and Mr. Kevin Bonich have worked for campaigns directly and are being honored for their civic engagement efforts in the community. As football players, Ryan and Kevin, of course, are unable to accept their awards at this time. They're in the locker room. We're talking with the Indiana Secretary of State, Todd Rokita. He's in our broadcast booth here tonight on IHSAsports.org. Great to have him here. He was out on the field. I didn't see you pick up the football and start running, Todd. Was there...
I was soccer and baseball.
Todd, a question for you. You're here tonight, and many of these young men and women aren't of voting age. What value is that as far as you're concerned?
Well, what you'll see at halftime is me give honorary secretaries of state out to some young people who work the polls. Not passing stuff out for candidates, but actually were legally responsible at the polling place. And so I'll catch the rest of it after the play here.
They're getting a taste of what's going on is what you're saying then.
Absolutely.
Let's go back again to the youth. That's the reason you're here involved with these kids. As I say, they're not eligible to vote. What's the value?
Well, like I said, we had some of these guys work the polls election day. Now, usually when you work the polls as a poll clerk or something like that, you got to still be a voter. You have to still be 18. Except we put a law in through the General Assembly that says if you're 16 or 17, if you have a 3.0 grade point average, if you have the permission of your principal and parents, we'll let you work under an inspector, be part of the process. Now, I can't imagine, guys, if you're doing that before you're even able to vote, that when you are able to vote, when you're 18, that you don't at least come back and vote.
That's
if
a
not
very
work,
good program.
Work or at least work the polls. So we're, again, trying to indoctrinate back into the culture the importance of voting.
That's good.
Now, talking about the youth, we get set for the kickoff. What about the adults? How can they get involved?
Yeah, really. We shouldn't worry just about the youth. Well, as much as we invest in teaching youth about civic engagement and getting involved, all that's lost and all the time and money spent is lost if when they get home they deal with a parent or parents who, when the news is on, they turn off the news. Let's watch some reruns.
Yeah.
Dad, Mom, who are you going to vote for? Oh, we don't vote. So you got to focus on the parents. I mean, that's just like everything else, the family is the cornerstone to our success as a country.
Well, Dick, when George Washington was running, did you go to the polls?
I'm not quite that old.
No, once again, I consider it an honor to be able to go to the polls, and yet at the same time, forgive me, Todd, but there is something about this year's election that's got a lot of people upset, both Democrats and Republicans, that you get the sense that they may not want to go to the polls this year.
Well, I can understand that. The point for me is, as chief election officer, that the process is there for them. And whether you feel like you want to express yourself by voting or not voting, it's there for you to take advantage of.
Now let's go back downstairs again, down to the field. Here's Chris May.
Thanks a lot. We're pleased to be joined once again this week on IHSAsports.org by Indiana Secretary of State Todd Rokita. I tell you what, Secretary, another great week of games, and you've got another great group of citizens around us right here.
Absolutely. It's great. This is what makes fall in Indiana even that much better. I'm also glad to be out here honoring our young people. When you're able to select your own leaders, you keep the country free. And part of selecting your own leaders is making sure we have a voting process that is open and fair and accurate. And these young people are making sure that it is.
We've got plenty of people here. Stephanie Wicks, Ryan Huey, also Caitlin Dawson here are Roncalli students who have been involved in the election process. I'll start right here with Stephanie. First of all, tell me how important do you think it is for people your age to be involved in this process?
Well, it's really important because, you have to know how it works so that you can be prepared to go through the whole process, because you're ultimately going to be the ones making the decisions later on.
Caitlin Dawson, you were also involved. Tell us what you did and why it was you got involved.
I campaigned, and I thought it was important to get involved, and I got involved because I was kind of curious about how the whole system worked, and I just wanted a clearer view, so I tried it just to get a better understanding.
Now, one of the young men here, Ryan Huey, Tell us what you did in the election process.
I was the Republican clerk.
What was that experience like? Was it a full day? What did you do?
Yeah, it was a full day, and it was just I helped count votes and signed off on them and stuff, and it was just it was cool to see how the whole process worked behind the scenes.
Also, Eileen Jarrell is a government teacher here at Roncalli. What sort of feeling does this give you to see students like these involved in government at such a young age?
Well, it makes me feel great about the future of our country, and we want to start a habit of them getting to vote whenever the elections come around.
Secretary, once again, thanks for coming out.
Hey, thank you very much. I love Indiana. This is awesome.
I tell you what, we've got a great game here. It's Chatard on top, 16-8 at halftime. Stay tuned. We've got the second half coming up shortly.